Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome folks, Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another con recap video. And today we are talking about KublaCon 2024, which was this past weekend for me. And as always, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, talk a bit about the con, how it went, what I thought was particularly awesome and all that. And also I've ranked all of the games that I played from 15 down to 1. And again, this is, as always, if it's ranked 15, that's not me saying I think this is a bad game. It's literally, these are just simply, how much fun did I have playing each of the games? There's a whole lot of reasons that a game might be lower on the list than others, but I will say, all in all, I had a good time playing all of the games I played this weekend, so please don't take this as a slight on any of the games where they are listed. Now, before I get into all that, talk about the con itself. As always, KublaCon is a pretty darn well-oiled machine. It's easy to get in. I showed up. I was able to ask somebody exactly where I needed to go to get my media pass. Because, sometimes it's in different places. They direct me right to a place. I had my badge, and I was walking the floor within 10 minutes, maybe even less. Fantastic. If you're not familiar, this is a smaller con than something like a Gen Con or Origins. It is one of the largest in California, but we're talking maybe 8,000 people. I don't know if that number is right, but significantly smaller. And so because of that, you're not having a huge hall that you're walking and stuff, but there was a pretty good-sized vendor hall, and you're able to kind of see that right now. Mostly we're talking maybe 2 rows of stuff to walk down, with a few people doing some demos and a lot of stuff being sold, whether it be game stores selling games or whatever. And so that was very lovely, very nice, as it always is. And for a smaller convention, it's a pretty darn good vendor hall. You can find a lot of stuff in there. Also, I need to point out that even though I failed taking pictures this year because I'm an idiot, the painting stuff that you can do at KublaCon is fantastic. They have a big staff of people doing painting. They have classes. They just have kind of open painting sessions. They have competitions. It's really good. Like, it is a really fantastic paint, learn to paint area organization that goes on at KublaCon. It's just wonderful, just fantastic. They're very lovely, kind people as well that run this. Also, I'll say that there were some special guests running around. And as always, it's always interesting to me when there's special guests there that I know just outside of it before I realized they were a big deal. And so one of them being Corey Thompson. You can kind of see just the pure excitement that we all have at seeing Corey Thompson at one of these conventions.
Oh my gosh, right here we have Corey Thompson talking to some other guy. No one knows who that guy is, but this here is Corey Thompson. Say hello.
This is the Corey Thompson. Oh my God.
Even this other random guy knows who that is. What do you have to say for yourself, Corey Thompson?
Go away.
I don't know who that other guy was, but somebody told me that he's kind of important in the board game world too. I don't know if you know who he is. In fact, go ahead and drop down in the comments and let me know who you think that other dude was. Nobody seems to know. But all of that was just lovely. I think the areas for gaming, there were areas that were, as you can imagine, one of these things kind of compressed with lots of people, but there was also lots of areas you could go that were a little more open, a little more spread out, and that was just really nice. I never had a hard time finding a place to actually sit down and play a game. I know a couple people did sometimes, but that was not an experience that I ever had. Also, for the first time ever, I actually ate most of my meals in the building because the catering that they had set up was really good. I mean, shockingly good food. Was it expensive? Yes, but also we're living in the San Francisco Bay Area, so everything's expensive. And so it wasn't that much more expensive than anything else. In fact, I paid less in the hotel than I did the one night we actually got DoorDash. So the food was actually very good this year. I was very, very impressed by that. So kudos to the upgrade that we got this year. And the last thing that I will say is there is a thriving proto-spiel that goes on here. If you are looking to design your own game, you want to test your game, you want to kind of experience games before they're signed, experience games before they come out, the proto-spiel here is great. They had a huge wall of games that they were giving away as thank yous for kind of play testing all the games that were there. There's games there that are already signed, about to be published. There's games that are already signed, going to be going to Kickstarter, and games that aren't even signed yet. So there's all kinds of things going on there. It's always a fantastic proto-spiel here at the Bay Area conventions, and KublaCon is no exception to that. Along with that, they even had a kind of a pitch session where there were designers kind of pitching their games, and there's a few publishers that were kind of going through and just taking pitches and seeing what was going on. And I happen to know for a fact that there is at least one game that is being considered to be signed from that. Whether it happened, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything about it because it was told to me a little bit in confidence, and if they don't sign it, that just would be mean, but very, very cool that it was happening. Let's move into the games themselves. And so we'll start out with the prototypes that I played. I only played one prototype, and I don't always exclude prototypes from the list, but I am this time because everything else I played was a finished product. And this is not a finished product. It's still, even the pictures you're going to see, it's all placeholder things. But that is a game called Microverse, which is going to be available from GMT. It's on their P500 list, which means as soon as 500 people do a pre-order, they start the printing of the game. And this is a fast 4X game where you are using cards to do 1 to 4 actions. You're building, you're moving, you are exploring, or you are colonizing. And each planet that you colonize is going to give you some extra bonuses. And it's very, very fast. You're simply going to play cards, and you play one type of card. You can play multiple cards if you want, and that's going to increase the power of the action. And either you wipe out someone's homeworld, you win. There's a certain timer that can happen that'll trigger the end of the game, and then there'll be 3 turns, and whoever controls most of these like relics on other planets, they'll win. Or you can have all of your colonies built at the beginning of your turn. All those are different ways that you can win. And the game is clean, fast, and simple. And the combat system is rather interesting that you're just kind of going to be top decking from the deck, and there's certain numbers going to be written on there, and you might have the ability to draw 3, pick 1, but you're simply going to compare them. Ships are going to take damage, and that's going to be that. And then there's a way to kind of determine who actually wins the fight. All of that, very simple, very clean, and arguably would be something that makes the game not have a lot of staying power, because it's just super simple. Super, super simple. In some ways, it actually reminds me of Warpgate, just more streamlined with the way that you're kind of doing actions and you're able to kind of power them up as you go through. It's not really a fair comparison, but it's the best one that I have. But what makes the game interesting is there are something like 80 factions you can play. Yeah, 80. 8-0. And I get to see 3 in action, and I looked at some others, and these factions go from simple to very difficult, but that's where the gameplay variety exists. That's what makes this game interesting and one that I would like to play again. So that was the prototype that I played, only played one this time. So coming in at number 15, which I just said that's the only prototype I played, that is a lie. This was also a prototype, but it felt like it's the actual thing because it has a whale plushie, and that is Licensed to Krill. That is coming to Kickstarter in a couple of months. This is a game that, for want of a better way to describe it, it's tableau building, set collection meets hot potato. Because you're passing around this whale plushie around, and as you're drawing cards out of the market, it's going to move the whale plushie, and then you're going to draw a whale card, and it's going to do something. It might move, it might sleep, or it might eat one of your cards. And you literally take the card, you stuff it in the whale's mouth, it has been eaten. And there's some ways you might get it out. There's ambergris, which is kind of like whale vomit, so you're going to take a card back out. But that's it. This is a 10-15 minute game, passing this thing around for lots of players. It's silly, it's fun. If it was longer than a 15-minute game, I might be saying, I don't know about this. And if it didn't have that whale plushie gimmick, it's not a gimmick because it does feel kind of necessary to the game, maybe I'd be saying something different, but it's clever. It was fun. That we played it 2 or 3 times because it was easy to bring out, and it just, I have nothing bad to say about it. But it's a very light, simple game that was just kind of that was just kind of a filler. In general, fillers are going to kind of fall towards the bottom of these lists at cons because they are just that. They're fillers where we're kind of waiting to get to something else. Next on the list is another filler, and that is Expressions. Now this is a game that Corey Thompson, again, who's a good buddy, I saw him while I was playing another game and we were chatting, and he said, here, take this, and he handed me a box. And he said, I bought 50 of these, and I'm giving them out to people, and I have a discount code so you can get half off or 2 for 1. Which, by the way, leave a comment if you're interested in this game, and I will get you that discount code. And this is a small, small box game where you're cooperatively trying to play all of your cards. And it's kind of a guessing game because you're either going to put a card out in front of you, and a certain orientation that's going to tell us what's in your hand. So you might put a card out that says, this is my lowest blue card. Or maybe you rotate it a different way and it's going to say, this is my highest blue card. Or maybe it's going to say, I have more of this number in my hand. But if you don't do that, you're going to point to somebody and be like, you have a red 7. And if they do, you put it on the harmony side of the board. And you also get to take a card out of your hand and put it on the harmony side of the board. But if you don't get it right, it goes to the agony side of the board, because whoever had it has to put it out, and you have to put a card out from your hand on the agony side of the board, and you're trying to have more harmony than agony at the end. It's hard! It's really hard. It's really fun. I really enjoyed it. When we were first talking about it, I was like, I don't know, Corey, you're out of your damn mind. But it was clever, it was fun, and I'm really glad that I have a copy, looking forward to playing it. Coming at number 13 is Scarface 1920. Now this is a game that Streamline Matt has been very excited about. It's deck building, area control, worker placement, and it's very, very aggressive. Matt likes aggressive games far more than I do. And I got to sit down and play it, and I'm torn about this game. Because it does, one, the production's awesome. It does a lot of really interesting stuff as you're kind of building your deck, and you get to go through your deck a few times, so that's fine. But it's just aggressive in ways that I didn't love. And to be clear, I would play this game again, and I probably will because you got more of it coming. But it just has a couple of things that will stick in your craw, maybe. And part of it was I didn't know it existed the first time playing. Like, there's some super tough take that cards in the deck, and you don't know that they're going to happen. Obviously, it's a take that card. And for our first play, not knowing that they existed, when I got hit with one that turned into a 70-point swing for me, I was like, well, that feels like I've just wasted like 6 turns building up to this thing and didn't know that could happen. Now, to be clear, is it broken? No. And I hesitate to say it was a real feel-bad moment, because it was a feel-bad moment. And a lot of people don't like those. But it's also a hyper-aggressive game, and there's a lot of stuff that you're doing. You're stealing stuff from people, and you're doing all that, which just isn't really my wheelhouse in this kind of game anyway. So the jury's a little bit out on it. I'm looking forward to playing it again, but it comes in at number 13 for me. Number 12 is White Castle, which was kind of the hotness a few months ago, and I'd wanted to play it for a while. I'd missed it at a few cons, and Original Don's son and his partner were kind enough to the very last day, after Don had left, were kind enough to teach me the game. They did a fantastic job teaching the game, like really, really well. And this is a very interesting little engine builder where you're drafting dice and you're moving your meeples off of your board onto the big board, and you're a little point salad-y, but it just does some very cool things with dice and how you place them, how it activates things. And it took me maybe a third of the game before I really was like, oh, I get this now. And by then it was too late, I'd already lost. But very clever game, very interesting, fast game, which makes you really want to go back to it. Now, going from the fast to the not fast, we move to the longest game that I played, and that is Alderman. And this is a game that I was asked to preview, and the timing was just too tight, and I just couldn't do it. And they were kind enough to send me a deluxe copy of the funded game, and I didn't know what to make of it, because it's very dry. It is a very dry, economic-style Euro where you're sailing your ship around, you're kind of cornering trade markets, and you're building up buildings in the city, which are going to give you more resource production, and all of these things. And let me tell you, this is the most German-style Euro I've ever played. And now, I don't exactly know what that means fully, but so you can disagree with me, but here's the thing. So we're competing to be like an alderman, like a town councilman is what an alderman would be, you know, in our world. And we're sailing all over the place, and you're moving around, you're turning this resource into this resource, and you're going to a place, and you're using this action system to get yourself a single fish, and you're going to sail that fish somewhere else, and you're going to sell these things, but you have to sell a very specific contract at each place to do the thing, and then you're going to build up in the town, but oh no, 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 you can't build a building in the town, no sir, you gotta buy a plot of land. And then later you can build a building on there. But, you know, we are going to tax you for your building, and so you have to pay upkeep every round, and just all these things. And just little details. And so the game took us a very long time, because we never played before. And it came very highly recommended to me from Chris Anthony, designer of Guildmaster. And at the end of the day, it took us 90 minutes before we were somewhat comfortable with what you're doing. And with that said, there's really cool stuff going on. It has this economic wheel that everybody has that's constantly turning, which means depending on where you are on the board, it's going to give you access to different goods that you're going to get. And you're never actually paying for the goods. It's not fully true, but mostly true. You have action points that you're using every round. You always are sailing around. You use your action points. They turn into goods. Fascinating. Fascinating stuff going on. There's so much going on. It took us a good 3.5 hours to play. If we played again, we could do it in 2 hours, 45 minutes. So there's just a lot going on. The jury is out on this game, and it was fascinating because at the beginning I was like, this game seems really cool. There's cool stuff going on. In the middle of the game, I was like, I hate this game. I don't know what I'm doing. And then at the end, I was like, oh, this game's kind of cool again. Now I'm getting it. So very heavy game. Had to revisit it. Had a great time playing it with original Don and a gentleman named Steven that I talked to before, but actually the first time I actually got to play some games with him. And just looking forward to going back to it. That brings us to number 10. I've talked about this game before. That is Avant Card. Original Don had it. We played it late one night with Barry Figurum, and it's a delight. It is a delightful, quick, easy, simple game. Thrilled that I got to play it again. It's one I'm always tempted to buy, except Don lives close, so I don't need to buy it. Number 9 on the list is Fractured Sky, and that just finished a reprint campaign from IV Games, and this is a game that looks like it should be a super heavy rule set. I mean, the version that I have, they were kind enough to send me the Super Deluxe version. Has pre-painted minis, and the minis are magnetic, and it's got holographic cards and all this stuff. At its core, it's a very simple kind of blind bidding system. It's not really the right word, but you're blind putting these ships out onto the board, and that's your power, and you're trying to predict where these starfalls are going to land. Whoever's most starfalls is going to win, and there's a lot of hidden information that you're trying to discover as you play. I really like this game. I got to play it with Tony Topper and Streamline Matt, and I really like this game. I'm not very good at it, and I really want to play it at the full 5-player count. It's just a very easy to play game, and I think it might be IV Games' best game. To be fair, I guess I haven't played all of their games, but I liked Mythic Mischief. I like Moonrakers. I think this one has got something really special to it in its simplicity. I would love to see a little more depth to it, but that's not the kind of game that it is. So, really enjoyed playing that. Comes in at number 9. Number 8 is a game called Scrap. And this one also came to me very highly recommended from Chris Anthony, and is by another Australian designer. And this is a game that is a programmer area control game with a tech tree going on. So I guess it's like a 3X game, because let's see, you do have because you don't really have the explore. You see what everything's out there, but you have the other 3X's in there. And it's got a bit of programming because you have these bots that you're activating, you're moving, but you're only programming 2 things at a time. And it's a hard one to explain. Kind of like Alderman, there's a lot going on, and I need to play it again because, again, it just took me a little while to figure out what is going on, and Don and I played. I really want to play again. It's a very cool production with these really nice, chunky, screen-printed meeples, and it's just a really unique-feeling game. I have not played anything like it. I'm looking forward to getting it back to the table, and so eventually I will have a review coming on that, but I'm going to have to get it played a few more times, and so we'll see when that happens. Number 7 on the list is Tesseract. I've talked about Tesseract so many times. In fact, I played it twice this weekend. Love that game. I actually am going to have a full-on review of that coming up on the next iteration of the podcast. But, yeah, you got dice and a cube. You're spinning it. You're taking them. Crisis management. Great game. Love it. Number 7. Number 6 is Red Dragon Inn Battle for Greyport. And I decided to run a game to kind of introduce people to what I think is one of the best cooperative deck builders out there that people don't know about. And so I ran it early in the morning. I messed up how long it was going to take, and so we didn't get to finish fully, but played one of the expansion bosses. Several expansion characters were played, and it just continues to be my favorite deck builder. I adore it. It is so much fun. I love that every time you play, you start, you're like, oh my gosh, we have no chance. We have no chance. And as you slowly work yourself back, and you slowly get a chance, and you're chucking the dice. It's just Such a good deck builder, and I wish more people knew about it. Moving into number 5, that is Ironwood. Now this is currently on pre-order on GameFound from Mindclash Games, and I do have a preview coming up of it, hopefully in the next week or two. And this is a 2-player only, well, you can play 1 player, 2-player area control game where one player is playing the wood faction, and fun thing, all the components are made out of wood, and the other player is playing the iron faction, hence Ironwood, and all their components are made out of metal. And it's very asymmetric, even down to where the wood characters only go in the forest and the iron ones only go in the mountains, and they can attack each other from their mountain if it's next to the forest and so on. And they move differently, their card play is all different, completely unique decks, and the win conditions are different. And it's clever. It's fast, and it's clever. There's a lot going on, and I will say, it seemed at the beginning, I was like, how am I supposed to beat these iron guys? I can't move them. Where I would move them, they'd immediately come back, so I couldn't get my totem and do my thing. But at the end of the day, it was relatively close. I got within a couple of turns of winning, even though Streamline Matt beat me. He built all his forges before I could get all of my totems. It's really clever. I really, really enjoy it. In fact, out of all of the Mindclash games that I have covered, it's my favorite, I think, so far. And that includes Anachrony, that includes Astra, and that includes Perseverance, Acts 1 and Act 2. Though I will say I have right there, I have a copy of Voidfall, which I just have not finished working through enough to cover. And I haven't played Tricarion, which is very interesting to me, nor have I played Cerebria. So, you know, do with that what you will. Moving into number 4, and this is one that's not fully a board game. This is a mini skirmish game, and this is called Relic Blade. And Steven, the same guy, was very excited about it, and I just happened to mention it to him because I was sitting with a friend of mine who runs some of the painting session. We were just talking, and she was playing, and I got to do a turn or two as someone had to get up and go to the bathroom or whatever. This is a very simple to learn, very simple to play, fast. Steven and I played 2 games in like 45 minutes, where you're building up your little skirmish warband. You can get a couple of heroes. I had 2 heroes for 50 points with some items and stuff. And you kind of run out there, and there's scenarios, you just kill each other, and it's all based around a D6. And what's on these cards? It is a beer and pretzels minis skirmish game. It is where, if I talk about Omicron Protocol, a skirmish game that I like a lot, it's like there's a lot going on. It is crunchy. This one is about as light as you can get. Total beer and pretzels, silly, fun. I love the art on the cards. I also love that it is minis agnostic by choice of the designer. He has beautiful minis, or he's like, hey, whatever. You can even just print and play all the cards you want. I mean, you have to pay a little, but affordable as far as that goes. There's a lot of stuff out there. But just fun and silly is my kind of thing. That I won a fight because we were on top of a building, and the dwarf I had, if he missed a hit, he could just push you away an inch. So I missed. I pushed the guy off the bridge. He fell down, he hit the ground, and that knocked him out. He wasn't dead, but he was knocked out because I threw him off a bridge. And then I just had one of my little goblins run off the bridge, and just, in my head, he fell off the bridge, and as he fell, he landed on top of the other guy, and he died. It's not exactly what happened, because technically I fell, didn't get hurt by falling, and I smacked him in the head, but just delightful. I am so enamored by this game. I am so excited by this game. It's living rent-free in my head right now. So, if you're into mini skirmish games, looking for something light, this game is something special, I think. Really excited about it. I've been kind of researching it. It looks like there's solo co-op modes available. I'm just very excited by it. Moving into number 3. That is Castles of Burgundy. Steven, Don, and we played late at night, later than I should have played. But for a game that's been out for a long time and I just never really connected with, I get it. It's a fun game. And that super deluxe version that Don has, it doesn't have all the minis, usually acrylic tiles for most of it. It's just stunning. It's really stunning. We played with the Vineyard expansion and some of the other expansions. I never want to play without the Vineyard expansion again. It's so cool. It's such a good, fun game. And I love that we're playing it somewhat regularly now. Which brings me to number 2, and I have not talked about this game recently, and that is consumption, food and choices, not tuberculosis, consumption, balancing your diet. Yes, this is a board game about balancing your friggin' diet. And there are, somewhere between 15 and 150,000 resources that you're managing, and you're taking them and you're putting them into your pantry, hoping before they expire you're going to make a recipe, and you're going to put the food on the recipe, you're going to cook the recipe, which means you eat it, it goes into your body. But then maybe if you get too much of one different food group, or you have too much alcohol in your system, that's bad. It's going to be negative points. So then you got to exercise to get it out, and it's just weird in and out balance, and it should not be fun. Did you hear the description of what I just gave you? It's so good. And for the first time in a long time, it was just three of us. It was Karen, the designer, who was a local and just lovely as can be, and Original Don and I, and we just sat down in the morning on Saturday, and we played a game, and it was like an hour and 10 minutes. Just blasted through it, because we all knew how to play. And it was just awesome. This is a game I don't get to the table enough. I need to get to the table more, and it's just a delightful, delightful game. And this is one that it's going to have a reprint coming relatively soon with a new title because of the consumption tuberculosis thing. So anyhow, just great. Which brings me to the number one. And for number one, I got to do a quick pause here because I can only shoot in 29-minute clips, and I'm about to hit that, so hold on. So number one. Number one is a game I've talked about before. It's actually on my 5 for 5 list I'm doing this year, where I'm trying to play 5 different games 5 times throughout the whole year, and that is Rise of the Gnomes. Oh, just one of the best co-op games out there. It's just so silly and so fun and so crunchy in the best way, and you can play it competitive as well, but for me, the co-op is where it's at. And we had a max player count game. I got to play with the designer. It's just fantastic. It is just so good. The AI, because there's always these gnomes that are kind of running around and doing stuff, and whether you play competitive or co-op, those gnomes are going to do what they're going to do. It's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. You can still get copies of it. It's out there. It's a big old box. Get a copy of this game if you like worker placement, you like area control, and you like co-op games. It's just amazing, and it's got so many factions that are just completely asymmetric. It's just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. If you have a copy of this game, I even got promo cards made with Beatrice the Board Game Dog. I will send you one. Just let me know. Couple bucks, all that money goes straight to the publisher because they took a bath on the shipping, because they're one of those companies that funded, and then COVID hit, and then the prices skyrocketed and they got crushed. So any money that gets paid for that, it goes right to August Games. But it's fantastic, and I had such a good time playing it. It's wonderful. So that was my number one game of the con. So there you have it, folks. That is another con recap, a little longer than usual, but hey, that's how it goes sometimes. If you find yourself in the San Francisco Bay Area in May, come check out KublaCon. I know it's an expensive area that we live in, but it's just a blast. If you're not looking for one of the huge convention experiences, I'm talking about a PAX U, a Gen Con, if you're not looking for that, this is the place to be. Just a delight. So, there you have it, folks. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.